Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I thought today maybe I would get around to showing you how I make the shell pattern gloves. Now this is my own pattern and I'm showing it to you to use for your own personal use. So you can make them for yourself or make them as gifts for people. But if you're interested in purchasing some, I do sell these on my store. I plan to put these ones up there soon. This is a green variegated with some gold and silver threading in it. And this is how they look on. But for those who crochet that would like to make them as gifts, I thought I would share the pattern with you. Here's another pair that's currently up on my store. And then the pair that I'm making today, I'm going to be putting up on the store as well. I mean, I know it's still summertime and people don't need them yet, but it's just something, especially if you're going to crochet them yourself, it might be something you want to learn how to do so you're all prepared for gifts or for winter or whatever it is that comes along. So and these ones, they're also up on the store. I actually have two pair of these currently, at least at the time I'm shooting this video, up on the store. So hopefully these will be up by these ones will be up by the time you see this video if you're interested in them. Now, what I have here are 3 sizes of crochet. The 2 sizes I'm actually using for crocheting is the I and the J. If you're curious about these hooks, my husband made all these out of hardwood. I love them. So anyway, what you want to start with is the I hook. Now this is going to fit with these size hooks. This is going to fit a small to medium hand. If you want it to fit larger hand, I recommend starting with the J hook and then going up to a K after that. So let me put the numbers here. I'm really terrible at remembering what the actual numbers like millimeter size is. So I'll put these here right down here at the bottom so you can see what that is. But anyway, so again, a larger size, start with the J, but if you're making a small to medium size, then start with the A. Start with the I hook. Oh, and if you're new to crocheting, please go check out my Crochet 101 list. I show how to do the very first thing you have to learn how to do is a chain stitch. I show how to do single crochet, double crochet, and a few other things that you'll need to know to get started. But this is for people who already know the basics of crocheting. So first, make sure you get your yarn on there and do 5 chain stitches. Now, if you want, this is going to be for this cuff part. I'll show you on here so you can see the difference. This is for this cuff part. And to see how it looks like size-wise on, this isn't finished. There's a reason why it's not finished. I'll get to that in a bit. This is how it's going to look with starting off with a chain of 5, and you're actually going to do 4 single crochets back and forth. If you want this cuff to be longer, then just add more chains to it. It's that simple. Okay, so, but we're just doing a 4 stitch across for the cuff. So you're going to work into your chain, work back into your chain, 4 single crochets. Okay, and then turn, and now here's where things are going to change up a little bit. You're going to be crocheting in the back loops only for the rest of this cuff. So what that means is going in under that back loop, pull up a loop, and then finish off your single crochet. Okay, and again, and if you watch my leg warmers video, which I'll link to up there in the corner, you'll see I did a lot of this in there. But the coloring, the picture was so bright that it might have been hard to see, but now I'm using really dark yarn, so it might be hard to see. I'm going really slow so you can see what I'm doing. I'm doing back loop only. Okay, and what that does, if you can see here, let's see, it might show up best on this one. Maybe. You can see little ridges going across. It almost looks like it's a knitted, like a cable knit kind of thing. Let me show it in another color, see if it stands out better. It's kind of a periwinkle blue, a light denim blue. So this stitches are working this way. And by working in that back loop on each row, that's going to make that ridging. And what it does is it gives it a really nice stretch this way. Keeps it from being too tight. Okay, and so let me do one more row showing working in the back loop. So I'm going only in the back loop. Now, if you're just doing a regular through both loops, I would actually come through here. But since I'm going back loop only, I go through the center of the stitch and around that back loop. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to continue that, so you have a total of 24 rows or 12 ridges. So let me show it one more time turning it. I don't do a chain one. Instead of doing a chain one and a turn and skipping the first single crochet, when I'm doing this, I just turn it. I don't do a chain one. I actually go, it can be a little tricky, but I just go right into that without using a chain one. I just think it makes a better, it just works better for this particular application, not doing the chain one and then skipping the stitch. Okay, so again, a total of 24 rows. And then what you'll end up with is a piece about this long. Okay, and then from there, this is 24, so it's 12. You should be able to count 12 ridges. I turn it so that I count it from here where it's wider here, so when I turn it here, it's narrower. So I start from here and I count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that tells me I have 24 rounds. So now what I want to do, still using the eye hook, I'm just going to fold it over. You can go either direction. And then again, working through the back loops and into the foundation chain, I'm just going to slip stitch 4 times across, stitching those together. To me, doing this, the cuff part is what takes the longest. It's the rest of it goes, to me, just seems to go really fast. Now I'm going to turn it this way so that seam is more on the inside and it's not sticking out so much. Now what you're going to do is do single crochets across. You want a total of 24 single crochets around. So just try to make sure they get evenly placed. This step is important before going on to the shell stitch. Okay, so you're just going to do that around. Okay, now I'm going to pick up the pace and crochet my normal speed so I can just get this done and show you what you do next. So basically I'm just doing 2 stitches. Well, you're stitching it at the end of every row is what you're doing. But sometimes that can be kind of hard to really see. And so just make sure for each set of 2, you got, for each ridge, you have 2 stitches. And it's a good idea to count them out as you go so that you know for sure, because where the ends meet up, you might make a mistake and do too many stitches there. And you only want 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's what I thought. So it'll look like there's a gap there, but that's just because that's where those 2 ends come together. So then slip stitch into your that first single crochet that you made, and then you're going to switch to the J hook from here. Okay, since I don't have another skein or ball of this color and I've got it here, I don't want to cut that. So I'm just going to use this for demonstration purposes and then just take it apart later. So I don't want to tie any knots in this right now. So then I'm going to bring that through. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a single crochet right in that first single crochet of the previous round. Okay. Then from here, you're going to skip 2 single crochets and you're going to do a 5 double crochet shell in that 1 stitch, in the 3rd stitch over. So it looks like this. Here's 1, 2. Now again, I switched to the bigger size hook, which in this case is the J. If you're making a bigger glove, it could be a K hook. There's 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to skip 2 and then you're going to single crochet in the next 3rd stitch over. Skip 2 and then do your 5 double crochet shell. And what you'll end up with when you get to the end of this round, you'll have 4 shells and then you'll have 4 single crochets. Making sure that you skip 2 stitches between each one and alternate back and forth between a single crochet and then the 5 double crochet shell. 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then I got a single crochet, and then I have one more shell to make. Skip 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to come over here and slip stitch into that first single crochet made. All right. Now from here to start the next round, you're just going to keep repeating this round, but the way you start each round is going to switch back and forth because you're going to start it a different way. So each time, I mean, you have to switch back and forth between starting with a single crochet or starting with the chain 3. Now this chain 3 represents the center double crochet of this shell. So what I'm doing is I'm making 3/5 of the shell that goes into that single crochet. On the next, then the single crochet that you're going to do is going to be in the back loop only of the center double crochet stitch of the previous shell. Okay, and now I'm going to do a shell in this one. It's always going to be the 5 double crochets. 4, 5, and then again a single crochet in the back loop only of the center stitch. Now the reason I'm doing back loop only, you don't have to do that, you can go through both, but the reason I like that is it makes the shell on the previous round stand out more. So let me show you when I go to the next single crochet, let me show you the difference in how it looks if I was to do the single crochet through both of the loops. So let me go through both so you can see the difference. It's easier to go through both, but see, that kind of makes it flatter, which it still looks very nice, but then look at the difference here. So here's the one where I went through both loops. Here's the one where I went through only the back loop. Only the back loop, both loops. I just think for this type of application, if you really want those shells to stand out, going through the back loop only of that center stitch just really makes a difference. So then you'll just keep continuing that pattern around for a total of 8 rows. Let me finish this out so I can show you starting the next round. Or finishing this out. So then you're going to come back to that first single crochet and finish out your that first shell. So you add 2 double crochets in there, and then you're going to slip stitch into the top loop of that first chain 3 chain of that first stitch, which is actually a chain 3. Okay, and you're not really going to get that same look there. Try to get as much into a back loop as you can, but there's not really one there because it's a chain. And then from here, what you do is you're going to chain 1 and then make yourself a single crochet right in that same stitch. And then continue on. And then you'll just keep doing that again, like I said, for a total of 8 rounds. Okay? And then, so I'm coming back to this one that I started last night. And I stopped here so that I could show this next part. This is where I'm going to add the thumb hole. So I've got a total of 8 shell rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if you want the cuff, the whole thing to be longer, so this is how long it will be. If you want it to come longer, then just continue these rows for as many times as you want. But I recommend that you end it in an even number. So, you know, if you want it longer, a little bit longer, go 10 rows or 12 or whatever it is that you want to do. But I recommend ending it on an even number just to make it easier for when you do this next step. For the thumb hole, I'm going to do a treble crochet. So I'm wrapping the yarn twice. Okay, so you see that? So I go over once, over twice. Now I'm going to go through this single crochet, just like I would if I was going to make the shell, but I'm doing a treble crochet. I pull through 2 loops. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky. come back, this is just going to anchor it down, and go through the back loop of this second stitch over of the shell on the row before. Then pull up your loop through that, and then finish out, you'll have 3 loops on there, finish out your treble crochet, and then do 5 chain stitches. Now you're going to repeat the triple crochet going to the other side. So going through the single crochet, bring it through 2 loops, then go through that of the next stitch over on that next shell through the back loop. Just insert it through the back loop. Again, that helps anchor that down. Pull it through 3 and then pull it through the last 2. And that's going to be your thumb hole. And the reason I do it that way is going to give it the best amount of space. You can make this longer if you want. If you think you need a little more space, you might want to try it on. But you don't have to anchor it down here, but I think the overall look ends up better because you end up with less space happening between this big long stitch here and this shell before. So let me show that whole thing again in case that's confusing. So around 2, inserting through that single crochet, pull up a loop, start it off just like you're going to do just a regular triple crochet or treble crochet. I always call it triple. Then insert in the back loop of the second double crochet over of that previous shell on the row below and bring up a loop through there. Now it's easier, you could try to just pull that loop through, but it's really a pain to do. So it's easier just to go ahead and wrap it again and then pull through 3 loops instead of 2, and then your final 2, and then chain 5. This other side is a little bit easier to do when you come to the other side. I almost forgot to wrap it twice. So through 2, insert the hook, through 3, through 2. And then that very next stitch over is going to be where you do your single crochet. All right, and then you just finish out your round like you did the previous rounds, doing your 5 double crochet shells and your single crochets. And you're going to do that again. It's up to you how long you want to make it, but I still recommend sticking with even numbers. If you have really long fingers, long skinny hands, you may want to do a total of 6 more rounds. I'm doing 4. I typically do 4. So you do 8, and then number 9 is the one with the thumb hole, and then you'll do 3 more rounds to finish off. So again, just like before, you're going to do 3 double crochets, well, 2 more double crochets. The chain 3 start counts as the first one. So you have part of a shell done. Now, instead of doing 1 single crochet in the middle of this loop, you're going to do 3. Okay. You can do 5 if you want. That might even make it roomier if you feel like you need it. But I find 3 to be plenty. And then finish this whole round out as you would normally with your shells and your single crochets. Okay, so now I'm finishing out round number 10 by putting 2 more double crochets in that starting shell and doing my slip stitch, then my single crochet. So then when you go to do your next shell, you've got 3 or 5 single crochets here. Just do your shell in the center stitch. Just make sure whatever number you put in here is going to be an odd number. So 3 or 5. You wouldn't want any more than that. And then just right in that center stitch, which is the second single crochet over, I just do a regular shell. You don't want to make this Well, it's going to be up to you. If you're making it to fit your hand and you have your hands really wide at the top, you may want to do 7 double crochets right here. But I recommend just doing a regular shell. And then you'll just continue that on, finish that round, and then do one more after that until you have 12. So I'll come back when I finish the 12th round, because that's pretty simple doing the rest of this. This actually works up pretty quickly and makes a nice fingerless glove. Okay, so I'm at the end of my very last round. Just putting my last 2 stitches to finish off that starting shell. I'm really sorry about all the noise. Slip stitch, got to get that roof done. Slip stitch into that starting chain and then pull that through. That's just to anchor it down. And then clip your thread or your yarn and then pull it through. Okay, now this is where your skinnier hook, and this can be any size, just so long as it's smaller than whatever size you used, whatever the size was you used this, and you know, a couple sizes smaller because the eye is still too fat. This is how I like to work in my yarn, is I simply crochet them in like this. And if I have another piece, another end piece to tie it to, then I'll tie it. So yeah, this is how I do it. I just pick anything that's on the inside or back side of my project and any loop that's in the back, it doesn't matter what. And then I just pull up a loop under that and then pull the end through. And I'll do that several times. To me, that really locks it into place so that that end is not going to come out, especially if I don't have anything to tie it to. I know some things will say, oh, you should never have knots in your work. Well, I believe in knots. I believe in anything that's going to keep my work from unraveling. I would much rather have something that I know was anchored and done well and holding in place, and then to give it to someone, because I made that mistake before. I gave people Afghans that I did the way that was instructed, thought I did a really good job of weaving in my ends, and eventually some of it came unraveled, and so I ended up having to fix it for them. They didn't ask me to, I just offered to. Anyway, and then that was when I decided, okay, I don't care what they say, I'm going to start putting knots in everything. And then, you know, after you do that several times, you can kind of then weave it in. You can choose to clip off your end. And then down here where I have a couple of pieces that I can tie together, I already have this tied in a hard knot. Then I will take those ends and crochet them in a couple times, each one, to the back side of the work. Again, that's just going to make sure that these are going to last for a long time and not come unraveled on whoever gets these. Because that's really important to me. I mean, we all make mistakes from time to time, but it's really important to me that whether it's a gift or it's something somebody buys from me, I want it to last them as long as possible. And then when I have a whole bunch of stitches like in a shell like that, usually to finish off, I'll try to pull it through those, my end through one of those. And then I'll snip off that edge. Carefully, you don't want to cut your work. And there we go. There's a completed fingerless glove. This is just one of my patterns. I have another pattern for a fingerless glove. And again, if you want to make it come up farther, you can do that. You can make it come up all the way to here if you want. It's totally up to you. Okay. I find 12 to be sufficient, but for people who, you know, I have fairly long fingers, even though I have tiny hands. For people who want it longer, they might want it to come up to the first knuckle. But it just depends on how you're going to use them and wear them. You might find that gets in the way. All right, so if you like that pattern, but you're not really good at following visual directions like this, I plan on writing this pattern up and putting it up on my store. I have 2 patterns up there at the moment that I'm filming this video, and I've got another one for a fingerless glove that actually, where the thumb actually comes out a little bit rather than it just being a hole in the side. So, and then it's a more tight weave, so it's a little bit warmer. And it can also be converted into a mitten, and I have a mitten pattern too. And I think in that pattern that I have up on the store for the fingerless glove. It also shows how to do the full mitten and some things that you can do with that. So that is, again, my own pattern. And hopefully I will, by the time you see this video, I kind of doubt it's going to happen by the time you see this video because things are so busy right now. But maybe shortly after this video comes out, I will try to see if I can get this pattern written up and then put it up on my store for those who would prefer to just buy the pattern and have it. And there you go. So just a pretty quick way to make a cute and fingerless glove. Again, let's see what these other ones look like so you can see it in a more solid color like that. All right. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. And don't forget to check out my other crochet videos. Not only do I have the basics, you know, the chain stitches, single crochets, and blah, blah, blah. I have a few other videos on just doing simple, you know, quicker projects like this. I don't plan on doing any videos on how to make the sweaters, but I have made many sweaters over the years and many Afghans of all different kinds. Maybe down the road, though, I'll show you how to do some different various types of squares for an Afghan, or even if you're doing a mile a minute one, show you how to do make a long strip, maybe down the road if time allows. All right, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.